Day5 リスニングテスト。このテストではテストの方法と注意事項はすべて英語で指示されていますので、よく注意して聞いてください。
The listening test for the Grade 1 examination is about to begin. Listen carefully to the directions. You will not be permitted to ask questions during the test. This test has 4 parts. All of the questions in these 4 parts are multiple choice questions. For each question, choose the best answer from among the 4 choices written in your test booklet. On your answer sheet, find the number of the question and mark your answer. You are permitted to take notes for every part of this listening test. Now, here are the directions for Part 1. In this part, you will hear 10 dialogues, number 1 through number 10. Each dialogue will be followed by one question. For each question, you will have 10 seconds to choose the best answer and mark your answer on your answer sheet. The dialogue and the question will be given only once. Now we will begin the Grade 1 listening test.
Number 1.
Hello, Sally.
Hi, John. How was your first week at our office?
It was great. Thanks for asking. Are you coming to the office party tomorrow night?
I haven't decided for sure, but probably. It's a good chance to talk to colleagues outside the office, and the catering's awesome.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Do you think I should wear something formal?
No, I don't think so. Our parties are very casual. You can wear something like a polo shirt and jeans.
Good. That was one thing I wasn't sure about.
Question. What do we learn from this conversation?
Number 2.
Hey, Jacob, are you going to the party tonight at Tim's?
Maybe, Rachel. It's supposed to start around 6:30, but I have to work till 8 or so. If it's still going on at 9, I might drop in. I'll give Tim a call to find out first.
Oh, don't worry about that. Things will just get going from 9. Tim's last party didn't slow down until 2 a.m. There might not be much food left, but there should be plenty of drinks and company.
Well, in that case, I'll just buy some snacks and bring them around 9. Please let Tim know.
Great. See you later.
Question. What will Jacob probably do before going to the party?
Number 3.
Hi, Steve. Well, back to another week of teaching English. How's your class at JCO Technologies going? Is the business English textbook I recommended working out?
No, the students are too advanced, so I decided not to use it. It's a small class, and most of the students have lived overseas, so I needed something more challenging.
Oh, so what are you using then?
I found some useful business case studies used in American MBA programs that are perfect. We first study the vocabulary and content. Then I break them up into groups to discuss solutions.
Sounds interesting.
It is. They can practice critical thinking and put all their knowledge to work.
Question. What curriculum did the man choose for his English class? Number 4.
I'm so angry at Derek that I don't know what to do. Remember my idea about automating certain parts of the assembly line?
Oh, yeah. You've been talking about that idea for several months. So what happened? Did your boss turn it down?
No, he loved it and he's putting the new plan in action. But Derek claimed at Friday's meeting that it was his idea, and Maggie, our supervisor, is giving him credit for it.
That's terrible. Why didn't you put Derek in his place at the meeting?
And make a public scene? No, but I'll tell Maggie how I was stabbed in the back when I meet her in private tomorrow morning.
Question. What will the woman do tomorrow morning?
Number 5.
You know the new job as marketing director I took at Sendax? I was assured that 80% of my time would be spent meeting clients with only a smidgen of administration work.
I hope you're not going to tell me you're overwhelmed with admin stuff.
It's actually worse than that. I have to make cold calls pretty much all day. The exact kind of sales I just can't stand. Of course, I get hung up on most of the time.
Wow. Talk about deception. I hope you can speak to someone who can help you reshape your work into something closer to what was initially described.
Question. What is the man's problem?
Number 6.
You know, my account has doubled in size the last few years, but our staff size hasn't kept pace. Everyone's overworked and overwhelmed. 2 people have quit recently, and there are plans to fill only one of the positions.
Seriously? But the company's hired over 20 new employees this year. So why do you think it is that you're not getting the additional help you need?
Good question. The vice president of sales and our manager don't seem to get along, so I think it has something to do with office politics.
Very unprofessional. By not giving clients the care they deserve, we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
Question. What does the man imply?
Number 7.
Philip has been in middle school now for 2 months, right? How's he getting along in his new school?
Not so good, actually. He's used to going to a small private school, so he feels overwhelmed being in a huge middle school.
Too bad. My daughter's having adjustment problems too, so we're getting some family counseling. Have you thought about what you're going to do?
Charlene and I met Philip's teacher to discuss options. We've decided to give it another few months, and if it doesn't work out by then, move him back to a smaller school.
Question. What have Philip's parents decided to do? Number 8.
My train was delayed again, so it took over 2.5 hours to get to the university. The train was so crowded that I couldn't even concentrate on my reading.
That's crazy. If I were you, I'd think about finding a place that is more accessible to the university. It would make life so much easier.
I know, but I live with my parents, so it's free rent. I'm saving up for a trip to Europe.
Yes, but think about it. If you lived within 30 minutes, you'd have several more hours each day to do other things, including working part-time if you really need the money.
Question. What does the man suggest the woman do?
Number 9.
Thank you for calling Biotech Medical. How may I help you?
I'm calling to inquire about the job vacancy you posted last week for an administrative assistant position in your company. Could you please tell me the deadline for applications?
Yes, of course. Applications will be accepted until 5 p.m. on Friday the 24th. That's October, of course.
Okay, thank you. And could you also tell me when you plan to begin interviewing applicants for the position?
Well, we don't have specific dates set, but interviews will probably start 1 week after the application deadline. We intend to make our final decision by the end of November.
I see. I'll send my application this week, but I'll be out of town for 2 weeks, and I'm concerned that I'll miss the chance for an interview.
In that case, maybe you should make a note of the dates you'll be away on your application. If you seem like a strong candidate, I'm sure someone could arrange a mutually convenient time to meet.
Yes, I'll do that. But do you think it might be possible to have an interview early next week? I'm very interested in this job.
Well, if you give me your name and number, I'll pass on your request to the person in charge of hiring, and she can get back to you about that.
Oh, thank you. That would be great.
Question. What does the man agree to do?
Number 10.
Mr. and Mrs. Martin, I'm afraid we're fully booked. There are no seats available on the 11 a.m. flight.
No seats available? There must be some mistake. I confirmed our reservation yesterday.
I'm terribly sorry, but we've obviously overbooked the flight, and I apologize for that. There is another flight leaving at 1 p.m., and I know that one has seats available.
But we can't wait until 1 p.m. We have a wedding to attend. Isn't there any other option?
I understand. Well, there is actually one seat available in business class.
In that case, why don't you go first, honey? I don't mind joining you at the reception.
No, I think we should go together. We should probably change airlines.
Well, I'll see if one of the other passengers would be willing to change to the later flight.
And what if no one is willing to give up their seat?
There is plenty of time until boarding, and we offer excellent compensation. We usually have a few people who accept our offer, so let me announce that now.
All right, please do. We will check other airlines just in case, though.
Question. What does the airline staff imply to the couple? Here are the directions for Part 2. In this part, you will hear 5 passages, A through E. Each passage will be followed by 2 questions, number 11 through number 20. For each question, you will have 10 seconds to choose the best answer and mark your answer on your answer sheet. The passage and the questions will be given only once. Now, let's begin.
A. Classifying the world's languages. For several centuries, a number of linguists attempted to classify the world's languages. Before the 20th century, the most common approach was to find language families, which were believed to have developed over time in the same way that biological species develop through evolution. However, any attempt to find only one classification system for all the world's languages will certainly fail, because many languages are very similar to each other in some ways, but totally different in others. Languages that share similar vocabulary, for example, Chinese and Japanese, are not at all alike in grammar or sound. In fact, Chinese is in many ways closer to English than it is to Japanese. On the other hand, Japanese is much closer in word order to Turkish than Turkish is to the languages of countries that have had the most contact with it throughout history. Even if one person using a massive computer could enter the data of the approximately 6,000 world languages existing today, the results would be contradictory, depending on the grammar, the sound system, the vocabulary, or other criteria used by linguists to describe human languages. All we can do when classifying human languages throughout the world is to carefully limit the ways in which we place different languages into categories of similarity or difference. One kind of classification might be based on word order. Another might be based on historical similarities and vocabulary. Yet another might be based on how words are formed in different languages. Yet each categorization is valid within its own context.
Questions. Number 11. How did linguists attempt to classify languages in centuries past? Number 12. What is the biggest problem with the classification of the world's languages?
B. For goodness sake. Traditionally, big business has focused on the formula that greed is good. However, University of Michigan professor Kim Cameron says that virtuous companies can also be financial winners. Cameron defines this so-called organizational virtue in terms of human impact, moral goodness, and social betterment. He argues that corporations which focus on such areas are likely to outperform their more cutthroat competitors. A study of the airline industry, for example, showed that companies which considered both the financial and human impact of business decisions performed better than those that focused solely on profits. When corporations employ organizational virtue, says Cameron, there is a positive effect on the corporate culture. Employees become more cooperative and feel much greater loyalty to their organization. Nevertheless, organizational virtue is not without its naysayers. In ruthless business environments, some argue that every virtuous act comes at a price, whether it is higher employee costs or reduced income. Many business leaders argue that it may be unethical for publicly traded companies to consider the human impact of decisions, as it is the shareholders, to whom corporate management is answerable, that ultimately pay the price.
Questions. Number 13. What does Kim Cameron say about the way corporations operate? Number 14. What do many business leaders say about organizational virtue?
C. The Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal is one of the most recognizable buildings in the world and stands on the right bank of the Yamuna River in Agra, India. It was commissioned and built by Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan in memory of his third wife, Mumtaz Mahal, who tragically died during childbirth. The construction of the Taj Mahal began in 1632 and took around 16 years to complete. Over 20,000 people and 1,000 elephants were used during construction, with materials coming from countries including China and Sri Lanka. The mausoleum is not only beautiful, but also perfectly symmetrical. The Taj Mahal is a very popular tourist destination, attracting between 2 and 4 million visitors each year. In 1983, it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and in 2007, it was chosen as one of the new 7 wonders of the world. Its popularity, however, could be affecting its conservation. Pollution from both surrounding areas and further afield is causing some of its pure white marble to turn yellow, and loss of groundwater could be affecting its wooden foundations. To counter these effects, the government set up a series of buffer zones in order to protect this architectural gem for future generations.
Questions. Number 15. Which of the following is true about the Taj Mahal? Number 16. How could its fame be affecting the Taj Mahal?
D. Lido. The United Kingdom isn't exactly known for its tropical weather, yet outdoor swimming is surprisingly popular. It's for this reason that Lidos are something of a British tradition. A Lido is an outdoor swimming pool with surrounding facilities such as a cafe and areas for sunbathing. The 1930s were considered the golden age of Lidos, when outdoor swimming surged in popularity, with 169 Lidos being built across the UK for recreation. Many were built near the seaside, so that people could enjoy the beach, salt water, and open-air swimming. The word Lido is, in fact, the Italian word for beach. As foreign travel became cheaper and more accessible to the general public, the popularity of Lidos waned. As a result, many Lidos closed, but recent years have seen their popularity rise once again, and many have reopened. Some have suggested that rising summer temperatures are to thank for the resurgence of interest. Others have suggested that Britons aren't as wealthy as they once were, so holidays abroad are not as popular as people tighten their belts. Others still suggest that outdoor swimming pools are more popular because they don't contain the chlorine associated with indoor pools. Whatever the reason, the Great British Lido is here to stay.
Questions. Number 17. What makes Lidos a peculiar British phenomenon? Number 18. What has happened to Lidos?
E. Ballpoint pens. Fountain pens write beautifully, but they are also quite messy to use. We have Laszlo Biro to thank for the largely mess-free ballpoint pen. While working as a journalist, he noticed that the ink used to print newspapers dried quickly and didn't smudge. Intrigued, he tried to use the same ink in a fountain pen, but found that it was too thick to flow into the tip and simply blocked the pen. However, he remained intent on using the ink to write with and set about developing what would later become the ballpoint pen. Working with his brother, Biro developed a pen tip which consisted of a ball that could move freely in a socket. As it rolled, the ball would pick up ink and deposit it onto the paper, hence the name ballpoint pen. The first ballpoint pens were presented at the Budapest International Fair in 1931. The initial versions were made of metal, but cheaper disposable plastic versions were developed soon after. This affordability, coupled with the ease of use, made ballpoint pens hugely popular around the world. Nowadays, ballpoint pens can be found everywhere, and many people still refer to them as Biros.
Questions. Number 19. What inspired Biro's idea for the ballpoint pen? Number 20. What is true about modern ballpoint pens? Here are the directions for Part 3. In this part, you will hear 5 passages, F through J. The passages represent real-life situations and may contain sound effects. Each passage will have one question, number 21 through number 25. Before each passage, you will have 10 seconds to read the situation and question written in your test booklet. After you hear the passage, you will have 10 seconds to choose the best answer and mark your answer on your answer sheet. The passage will be given only once. Now, let's begin. F. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 21.
All students participating in next Monday's field trip to Painted Stone State Park need to turn in a permission slip with the parent's authorization by Friday. You can find permission slips on the Cloverfield Elementary School website. We will provide lunch. We cannot accommodate special meal requests, nor provide a list of foods served in advance. So if your child has any issues with certain foods, parents are requested to prepare a bag lunch for their children to bring with them. The weather is expected to be hot, so children should dress appropriately, including wearing hats or caps. Remember that you can purchase a special school cap at the office for $5. If you think your child may find the field trip physically or emotionally challenging, please call the school. A teacher will be on hand that day at the school to take care of students not participating in this event.
Now, mark your answer on your answer sheet. G. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 22.
Following this presentation, we'll have several breakout sessions. For those going to any of the EU countries or Great Britain, please meet in room 1404. For those who are interested in study programs in the United States but have not yet made any firm plans, please meet in 1601. There are several tables set up with brochures, and there are teachers and students who have completed overseas study programs. For those who plan to study in America sometime this year, but who have not yet applied for a student visa, there are a few changes to the application process that you should be aware of. Please meet in 1604 to discuss the process, as well as obtain useful information about completing your documents. Those planning to go to New Zealand or Australia this year, or who have interest in going there for study in the future, should attend the session in room 1412.
Now, mark your answer on your answer sheet. H. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 23.
Your doctoral committee will serve as mentors and evaluators and help you through the steps towards obtaining your doctoral degree. You should now choose members of your committee. Here's the list of approved faculty members to direct dissertations. You'll see that Dr. Carlson is not on the list, since she isn't in our department. To gain approval to have her on your committee, you must consult with the Director of Graduate Studies, Robin Wright. As soon as you get an answer from her, fill out the doctoral committee form and have all members you've chosen for your committee sign it. Submit the form to the Graduate School office on the 4th floor of Sutherland Hall by December 15th. Your committee will help you schedule your comprehensive exam, which is necessary for gaining admission to candidacy. You'll need to fill out the Admission to Doctoral Candidacy form and follow all instructions provided on the form and accompanying paperwork.
Now, mark your answer on your answer sheet.
I. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 24.
A member of volunteer programs will be waiting for you in the arrival lobby of the International Airport in Phnom Penh. Technology volunteers will then be taken to our program's apartment complex in Phnom Penh to deposit your belongings. There, you'll receive a briefing at our office on your first or second day, depending on your time of arrival. Conservation volunteers will spend their first night in Phnom Penh at a guest house, where you'll receive your bus tickets. You'll catch a public minivan at the main bus station, Poi Japong, the following day. A member of the conservation team will pick you up at the bus stop on Poi Japong Beach and take you to the pier, where you'll take a speedboat to Koh Sadat Island. Medical volunteers will first be taken to one of the 4 hospitals to meet staff, and then will be taken to a dormitory attached to the hospital.
Now, mark your answer on your answer sheet.
J. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 25.
Attention passengers. If this is your final destination, you must go through immigration, baggage claim, and customs. U.S. citizens and green card holders should follow the green lines. All other immigrants should follow the red lines. unless instructed otherwise by an official. Please follow the blue signs to your next flight if you are a transit passenger. If any person has a fever or does not feel well, you must report to the quarantine counter for an interview. Also, travelers who recently visited countries and regions shown on the sign, which are affected by epidemics, must see a representative and complete a questionnaire.
Now, mark your answer on your answer sheet.
Finally, here are the directions for Part 4. In this part, you will hear an interview. The interview will be followed by 2 questions, number 26 and number 27. For each question, you will have 10 seconds to choose the best answer and mark your answer on your answer sheet. The interview and the questions will be given only once.
This is an interview with Kenneth Stevenson, who is a travel writer and lecturer.
Today we have with us a very distinguished travel writer and lecturer, Mr. Kenneth Stevenson. Welcome to the program.
I'm glad to have the chance to talk with you and your audience.
To start with, could you give us a little background information about your career as a world traveler and writer?
Well, since I was very small, I've wanted to see new places and experience different cultures. I think I first became attracted to travel from looking at copies of National Geographic, which my parents had subscribed to for years.
And the writing?
Well, it just came naturally, and it was a perfect way to support my travels. I always liked to read travel magazines and travel books, even before I had ever left my home country.
Could you give us some idea of one of those early books you read that really impressed you?
Sure. One book I always remember is a book titled The Royal Road to Romance, written by Richard Halliburton. It's a classic of travel writing.
You've just finished a book about hiking through Central Asia. Could you comment on that trip and on writing the book?
Yes, well, one of my hobbies is reading historical novels and straight history. I'd read some fascinating books on Mongolia several months before the trip, and that persuaded me to go. It was a wonderful experience, and the Mongolian people were so friendly and generous. It's a vast country with an ancient, proud culture.
Well, it certainly looks to be a wonderful, wonderful book. My best wishes for its success.
Thank you. I might mention that several major television networks are interested in filming a documentary on the trip, which would be a very interesting and new experience for me.
Well, I hope that works out well. I'm sure all of us would enjoy seeing the result. Before we wrap up our interview, could you please tell us about the next region you're interested in visiting?
Well, I might stay close to home next time and do some writing about the people living in the floodplains along the Mississippi River. I've always been fascinated by why these people continue to live along rivers that will invariably flood every few years or so. Also, as a boy, I loved the writings of Mark Twain, which were set on the Mississippi.
Well, Mr. Stevenson, I want to thank you very much for your comments and look forward to talking with you again after your next few projects are completed.
Questions. Number 26. What is one reason Kenneth decided to travel through Central Asia? Number 27. What is one reason Kenneth wants to write about people living along the Mississippi River?
Your time is up. Stop writing and wait quietly until the answer sheets have been collected.
Day 6リスニングテスト。このテストではテストの方法と注意事項はすべて英語で指示されていますので、よく注意して聞いてください。
The listening test for the Grade 1 examination is about to begin. Listen carefully to the directions. You will not be permitted to ask questions during the test. This test has 4 parts. All of the questions in these 4 parts are multiple choice questions. For each question, choose the best answer from among the 4 choices written in your test booklet. On your answer sheet, find the number of the question and mark your answer. You are permitted to take notes for every part of this listening test. Now, here are the directions for Part 1. In this part, you will hear 10 dialogues, number 1 through number 10. Each dialogue will be followed by 1 question. For each question, you will have 10 seconds to choose the best answer and mark your answer on your answer sheet. The dialogue and the question will be given only once. Now we will begin the Grade 1 listening test. Number 1.
Hello, thank you for calling National Airlines. How may I help you?
I'd like to know if you have a seat available in business class on today's 2 p.m. flight to Mexico City.
There shouldn't be a problem, sir, but give me a moment to check. Could you tell me your name and customer number, please?
Certainly. The name is Eric Hamilton, and the number is 345-6782. By the way, I'll be paying for the ticket with my National Airlines credit card.
Sounds good. Yes, there is a seat available, Mr. Hamilton. I'll reserve the seat for you, and the details will be sent to your email address in a minute.
Thanks.
Question. What do we learn about the man?
Number 2.
Excuse me, but is this Dr. Thomas's office?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
I'd like to see her as soon as I can for a checkup.
Okay. This week is a little tight, but when could you come in?
Any time on Tuesday morning would be fine, but on any other day I'd have to come after 5 p.m.
We can squeeze you in at 10:30 on Tuesday. Would that work?
That's super. I appreciate it.
Question. Why did the man call the doctor's office?
Number 3.
I've been through everything in your closet. You simply have too much stuff, so I've picked out these things to get rid of.
Oh no, not that jacket. I just bought it last summer.
And you've gone through the fall and winter without wearing it once. Let's give it to your nephew. He needs a good jacket.
And why are you throwing out my favorite sweater?
Are you kidding? Look at the holes. And these worn-out shirts have got to go.
Well, I guess they're rather dated.
You still have a lot left over, and your newer things look so much better on you.
Question. What does the woman say about the man's wardrobe?
Number 4.
Weren't you supposed to go to the dentist this morning?
Oh, no. I completely forgot about it. That's the second time I've missed an important appointment this week.
You've got to write things down in your schedule book.
I do. I write down all my appointments in my smartphone calendar app, but then I forget to check my calendar.
Then you've got to make it a habit to check your calendar at the same time every day. Otherwise, you'll keep missing things.
You're right. I'll make it a rule to check it when I first get up in the morning.
Question. What did the woman resolve to do?
Number 5.
Did you pick up the dry cleaning on your way home?
Yes, here it is. It looks like they didn't get the stain out on your pants.
That's not good. They charged me extra to take out the stain and assured me they could do it.
Well, look at it for yourself. You're not going to want to wear them again, so I'd chuck them if I were you.
No, not before I take them back to the cleaners. If they couldn't remove it like they said they could, then they at least need to reimburse me for the extra charge.
Question. Why is the man upset?
Number 6.
Atsuko and I are going to an event this Saturday called New Age of Health. Would you like to go? Some famous speakers will be there.
No, I've got my regular Saturday tennis game.
Yes, but you can give up one day to come to this event. You're interested in holistic healing, right?
I think tennis would be better for my health than wading through some crowded event.
But won't you at least look at this website and see what it's about? Besides, Atsuko's husband Doug is coming along.
Really? I haven't seen him in ages. In that case, I'll consider it.
Great. He'd be delighted to see you.
Question. Why is the man thinking about going to the event? Number 7.
Hey, Jessie, I didn't expect you to come into work today. I thought you'd still be at the conference.
You know the hurricane that's going to hit Atlanta? We were told we wouldn't be able to depart Atlanta during the storm, which could last days, so I came back early.
That's too bad.
Well, I was lucky to change my ticket, since many other passengers wanted to do the same thing.
So how was the conference?
Not so great. There was one speaker I was really hoping to see, but he canceled due to illness. And I missed the presentation I wanted to see yesterday because of my flight change.
Question. Why did the man leave the conference early?
Number 8.
Hello, Professor Lim. How are you?
I'm fine, Joe. May I ask where you're off to?
To the post office to pick up a package from my parents.
Oh, I'm headed there too, to post a few letters. Shall we walk together?
I can drop those off for you if you'd like.
That would be very helpful, actually. I've got a faculty meeting in 15 minutes, and that would ensure I won't be late. Thanks a lot, Joe.
No problem.
Question. What will Joe do for Professor Lim?
Number 9.
How do you feel things are going at the call center?
I think okay, but I've only been center manager for 3 months, so I still have a lot of things to learn.
For your information, we've conducted a customer survey, and there appears to be one major issue of concern, which I'd like to address this morning.
Really? What is it?
4 customers reported they weren't given the information they required from call center agents to solve problems related to privacy concerns and security issues.
Oh, no. I wish I'd known that earlier.
Well, that's partly our fault in operations. We need to get information to you faster so you can make adjustments. I'll work on that on our end.
Perhaps our agents need more training.
Well, they can't be expected to know everything. The major problem I see relates to referral of certain types of complicated calls to specialists.
I see. I'll need more details to pass on to my staff.
And that's exactly what I've prepared for you, including a list of names and issues each specialist can deal with. This should make your staff's work easier and better equip them to satisfy customer needs.
Question. What does the man suggest? Number 10.
George, why isn't the report finished? The client is furious.
I'm sorry. I thought I could finish it last night, but then I realized one section had to be redone. I'm working on it right now.
Right now is too late. The client had told us it was urgent and it was supposed to be delivered this morning.
Kim, it's not completely his fault. I also had George working on a new proposal. I should have let him focus on finishing the report first.
No, I'm responsible for the delay. I should have told both of you first thing this morning that the report wasn't finished and that I was having problems getting it done.
I want to be informed before a deadline if there's a problem with a project, not after the deadline has passed.
I know. I'm sorry.
I'll call the client to apologize and tell them we'll send it to them as soon as possible. When will that be ready, George?
I'll have it done in less than 3 hours.
Okay. And remember to keep me up to date on your progress. I don't want any more surprises like this in the future.
There won't be any, I promise.
Question. What does George's boss ask him to do in the future?
Here are the directions for Part 2. In this part, you will hear 5 passages, A through E. Each passage will be followed by 2 questions, number 11 through number 20. For each question, you will have 10 seconds to choose the best answer and mark your answer on your answer sheet. The passage and the questions will be given only once. Now, let's begin.
A. Amazing chalk. Everyone knows what chalk is, that white substance used to write on blackboards in classrooms all over the world. We have various hues of chalk today, yellow, green, red, and other colours of the rainbow, but none of those are the original colour of chalk. Many people know that chalk provides the beautiful white glow of the famous Cliffs of Dover and the white stone faces of similar geological formations in Austin, Texas, and the south of France. Yet few non-scientists know that chalk is actually the remains of extremely small sea animals that lived in the ocean over 65 million years ago. At one time, the chalk that teachers used to write on their blackboards came from living things, and later it was a kind of soupy substance that formed what scientists now call the chalk sea. The small animals that made up chalk lived near the surface of oceans and seas. After dying, their shells and skeletons floated downward and settled on the ocean floors, forming thick layers that eventually hardened. The tiny shells composing chalk are known to be the smallest fossils yet discovered, requiring powerful microscopes to observe them. The next time you see a teacher write something on a blackboard, you are watching a person smear 65-million-year-old fossils across the board.
Questions. Number 11. What is Dover famous for? Number 12. How was chalk formed?
B. Monument to the Sun. There is an ancient and mysterious monument that sits on a hilltop about 250 miles north of Lima, Peru. For many years, explorers, researchers, and tourists visited the lonely structure, but none were able to figure out why it was built and what purpose it once served. The ruins are comprised of 3 concentric stone walls that surround a fortress and 13 towers. Researchers believe the structures were built by a pre-Incan civilization of farmers, traders, and llama herdsmen, collectively called the Chavin. Some guessed that the monument was used for religious ceremonies. Others thought it was for military defense, and still others surmised it was a gathering place for the elite. The debate continued until archaeologist Iván Getzi of the Catholic University of Peru finally cracked the riddle. He realized that the ruins formed the oldest solar observatory in all of the Americas. From a temple within the inner circle, the Chavin could observe the sunrise between the stone towers, which were precisely spaced to calibrate the days, weeks, and seasons according to the position of the sun. It would have been useful as a calendar for the agricultural community, but it was probably even more important to the civilization's rulers, who were able to gain valuable information from the monument. The ability to predict the movement of the sun. With the knowledge gained from these massive stone calendars, this chosen elite could convince the common people that they controlled the movement of the sun. thus solidifying their own authority.
Questions. Number 13. What did Ivan Getzi believe was the main purpose of the Chabin monument? Number 14. How was the information gathered by the Chabin in the monument used?
C. Jailed for reading? Books have the power to change ideas and lives in positive and negative ways. Some books are banned in some countries while being celebrated in others. It is very rare, however, to hear of people being arrested for reading. Yet this is what happened to 15 political and human rights activists in Angola. They were arrested in 2015 for organizing a public discussion of 2 books about peaceful challenge to authoritarian regimes. The activists were involved in campaigns for numerous social justice issues and tried to make the government answer their concerns. The government, in turn, accused them of plotting a coup. The events put Angola in the international spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Although it is one of Africa's fastest-growing economies, the wealth generated by its abundant natural resources is rarely distributed to the general population. In fact, over 70% of the population live on less than $2 a day, while the ruling elite live in luxury. Support for the book-reading activists came from all corners of the globe, with groups like Amnesty International calling for their release. Despite the outcry, however, the decision to publicly discuss ideas written in books led to the group being jailed for rebelling against the government.
Questions. Number 15. What led to the arrests in Angola? Number 16. What does the speaker highlight about Angola?
D. Gaslighting. The term gaslighting is used by psychologists to describe how a person covers their own lies by deflecting, distracting, and blaming others. The name comes from the 1944 movie Gaslight, starring Ingrid Bergman. In the movie, a husband tries to convince his wife, played by Bergman, that she is going insane in order to cover up a murder he committed. He is ultimately unsuccessful, but in real life, many others have used similar techniques to cause considerable harm to partners and spouses. Psychologists say that the effects of gaslighting can be deeply traumatic, with recovery being difficult and time-consuming. Although it is most common within relationships between couples, psychologist Stan Tatkin warns that in today's political climate, society as a whole could be at risk. He suggests that we are in committed relationships with our leaders which depend on a basis of trust. A gaslighter manipulates this trust by blaming others, distracting our attention from things he or she is trying to hide, or simply lying about something. On a national or international level, this can be particularly dangerous, as it undermines both trust in government and in democracy itself. Unsurprisingly, therefore, it is often used by dictators.
Questions. Number 17. In psychology, what does gaslighting mean? Number 18. How can gaslighting work at a national or international level?
E. Running. For virtually as long as humans have been walking upright, we have also been running. Perhaps our early ability to run allowed us to escape immediate threats. It is endurance running, however, that truly sets us apart from other running animals. Early humans were thought to run long distances in order to tire their prey and make them easier to catch. This endurance ability made up for a relative lack of physical power. Evidence suggests that running led to evolutionary changes in humans like many sweat glands, larger joints in the legs, and more muscle around the hips. Nowadays, running is a very popular recreational activity and a multi-billion-dollar industry. Competitive running grew from early religious celebrations to the huge number of events and races we have today. Athletes compete in races that range from a few seconds to multiple days. Courses range from specially created tracks to mountains and deserts. Those who are successful can expect to earn a great amount of money from sponsorship and prize money, and many become celebrities. It's a far cry from early competitions when runners who failed to win could be jailed, publicly flogged, or even executed.
Questions. Number 19. In what way did running help early humans? Number 20. How has the sport of running changed?
Here are the directions for Part 3. In this part, you will hear 5 passages, F through J. The passages represent real-life situations and may contain sound effects. Each passage will have one question, number 21 through number 25. Before each passage, you will have 10 seconds to read the situation and question written in your test booklet. After you hear the passage, you will have 10 seconds to choose the best answer and mark your answer on your answer sheet. The passage will be given only once. Now, let's begin.
F. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 21.
Currently, many experts say we're in a real estate bubble, so it might be best to wait a few years to see how the economy pans out. Many commercial real estate investors have overextended themselves on loans and are stretched thin. During a recession, banks will foreclose on many of these over-leveraged properties, and you'll be able to pick them up at steep discounts. There are several shopping malls available at a discount right now, but we're going through what's called a retail apocalypse. 15% of shopping malls are expected to fold within the next decade. A better low-risk option if you need to invest in something soon would be a so-called lifestyle centre, a new shopping centre concept with a beautiful main street and architectural details like cobblestone sidewalks, fountains, and attractive landscaping. They are located on smaller properties than traditional malls, but offer upscale brand stores along with fancy restaurants and fun entertainment options.
Now, mark your answer on your answer sheet.
G. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 22.
These courts are owned and maintained by the city, so prices are very reasonable. $10 per hour for indoor courts and only $2 an hour for outdoor courts. As you know, a storm is approaching and it's expected to rain all day on Saturday. Most of the indoor courts are already reserved, but we have one court that's available from 3 p.m. if you'd like. Sunday is booked up until 2 p.m., but after that we have both indoor and outdoor courts available. But nobody knows if the weather will be okay by then. What I can do, if you'd like, is to reserve one indoor and one outdoor court, and you can cancel one of them at least 24 hours in advance, so there won't be a penalty. We'll probably have a better idea of what Sunday's weather will be by Saturday.
Now, mark your answer on your answer sheet.
H. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 23.
This is Bob Finch from testing. We run several tests on the software product that was coded by Intech Company and have run into some major issues. These are not just bugs. The product simply fails to meet the specs we agreed on during the requirements stage, so it needs to be almost completely recoded. I don't know how this could have happened, as we were very clear about specifications. If we have a contract with them guaranteeing compliance to the requirements, don't make payment. The work was so shoddy that we'll want to consider hiring a different coding company, in which case we'll need to consult our company legal team immediately. If we don't have a binding contract, we'll just have to send it back to Intech and watch them like a hawk until they do the coding correctly. Either case will mean some serious delays in getting product to market. Get in touch with me after you've decided what to do.
Now, mark your answer on your answer sheet.
I. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 24.
You asked if extra storage capacity for our mainframe is necessary, and I have to say emphatically that it is. The additional hardware I need is expensive, I know, but the cost is typical for mainframes. You can't compare the costs to PC hardware. Mainframe equipment costs more by a factor of 10, sometimes even 100. I know what you're thinking. Just replace our mainframe with workstations, but you can't. Even the best workstations will bog down with the calculations that mainframes process. As a research company, we simply can't give up that power. A few years down the road, workstations will probably do the trick, but not yet.
Now, mark your answer on your answer sheet.
J. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 25.
The plenary session will begin in 30 minutes in the Grand Conference Room in Building 1, so we need to move along. Those giving a poster presentation are asked to go to Conference Room B in Building 3 now to choose a space and put up your posters. Those participating in one of the forum presentations should go to the room next door, room 2003, where you'll split into topic groups. Those participating in the roundtable exchange are asked to stay here to meet other panelists to decide how you'd like to carry out the discussion. And those giving short presentations are asked to go to your assigned presentation rooms now and make sure you have the appropriate audio-visual equipment and that it functions properly with your computers, cables, and USB devices. If you have any questions or problems, please see conference staff at the check-in table in the lobby of Crystal Hall.
Now, mark your answer on your answer sheet.
Finally, here are the directions for Part 4. In this part, you will hear an interview. The interview will be followed by 2 questions, number 26 and number 27. For each question, you will have 10 seconds to choose the best answer and mark your answer on your answer sheet. The interview and the questions will be given only once.
This is an interview with Bernard Silverman, who is a director of a venture capital company.
Today, our special guest at Tech News is Bernard Silverman, director of Jumpstart Japan. Thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to be with us today, Bernard.
You're welcome.
Can you describe to our listeners what your company does exactly?
Jumpstart is an incubator, accelerator, venture capital firm, and corporate innovation platform all wrapped into one.
Can you explain that in simpler English for our less technically inclined listeners?
Sure. Just like an incubator helps newborn babies at risk, we help fledgling technology-based startups get the support they need to survive and grow. And as an accelerator, we help startups make the connections and receive the training and funding they need to grow more quickly. Startups need and benefit from legal support, access to advice and consultants from experts in their field, marketing support and training, investor access, and a whole bunch of other things. And as a venture capital firm, we've invested in over 120 startups, including such hugely successful startups as Drop-In and OnSite.
And what do you do exactly as a corporate innovation platform?
We have nearly 250 large corporations worldwide that are investors and partners with Jumpstart who are looking for specific kinds of innovation for their own products and markets. This is not just an extra benefit for corporations. The competitiveness in industries has greatly accelerated over the last few decades, and corporations that fail to introduce their share of technological breakthroughs to maintain competitiveness are the ones who face obsolescence. That's why corporations require access to startups that can provide them with cutting-edge technologies. We offer 50 accelerator programs globally, which provide in-depth training workshops and ongoing support for startups, and each of these programs is sponsored by several of our corporate partners. We are industry-specific, offering an innovation platform in such fields as IoT, or the Internet of Things, fintech, technology for the financial service sector, and mobility, which is advanced technology for the automotive industry.
What specifically brought you to Japan?
There are many Japanese corporations with a keen interest in the startup community, both in Japan and abroad. Before I opened our Tokyo branch last year, we already had 35 Japanese corporate partners at our headquarters in Silicon Valley, so it made sense to have an office here to better serve them. But there is another reason for opening shop here. Currently, the startup ecosystem in Japan is underdeveloped. There are too few startups in general, and most of those are focused only on the domestic market rather than the global. Japanese universities are not producing enough entrepreneurs, and startups do not receive much in the way of government support or private investment from corporate partners or investors. Jumpstart is here to do what our company name implies: jumpstart the startup ecosystem and build it up to a scale that you would expect from one of the world's leading economies.
How do your company's global connections play a role in this?
Well, they play a role in different ways. First, through our 28 offices around the world, we can introduce our Japanese corporate partners to new startup technology that is a good fit for the Japanese market. And in a similar way, we assist Japanese startups to reach overseas markets.
That wraps up our program. Thank you, Bernard, for being our guest speaker today.
My pleasure.
Questions. Number 26. What is one thing Bernard says about Jumpstart's accelerator programs? Number 27. What is one thing Bernard says about the startup platform in Japan?
Your time is up. Stop writing and wait quietly until the answer sheets have been collected.